सही है. So let's get started. सही है. तो जिस तरह मैंने कहा था कि we want to do is I want to repeat networking. सही है. क्योंकि बहुत लोगों ने मिस्टेक्स की हैं इसके अंदर and I want to make sure we cover this properly. आज सुबह मैंने क्लास में 8B के सेक्शन के अंदर B सेक्शन के अंदर भी covered this one. सही है. So let's take a look. तो सबसे पहले when we talk about virtual networks, I'll create a virtual network. इसके अंदर I will pick of course the resource group और उसके बाद I will pick the region और उसके बाद I will say for example CS4037 I will put home VNet. सही है. इसमें जो इंटरेस्टिंग पार्ट है फॉर आवर पर्पस इज दिस वन कि उसकी एड्रेस स्पेस है. सही है. दिस इज द एड्रेस स्पेस फॉर दिस VNet और इसके अंदर इट्स शोइंग यू 65536 एड्रेसेस. सही है. और वो आपको बता रहा है कि विल क्रिएट वन डिफॉल्ट सबनेट. तो फर्स्ट थिंग टू अंडरस्टैंड इज कि अगर हमारे पास VNet है, I'll make some notes over here. सही है. So what I'm doing over here, मैं एक VNet बना रहा हूँ जिसमें 10.0.0.0 एड्रेस स्पेस है. दिस वन राइट. और ये कितने एड्रेस स्पेसेस हैं इसमें? 65536. 65536. So what I want to do is I want to say कि I want to modify this. Let's see if I can modify this. Resize address space. It tells you कि ये है. सही है. I can say, you can see कि ये मैंने एग्जाम के अंदर 24 और 27 यूज किए थे. सही है. 24 के अंदर 256 एड्रेसेस होते हैं और 27 के अंदर 32 एड्रेसेस होते हैं. Let's start with 24. तो when I say 10.10.0, the first thing you have to notice and you have to figure out and you have to realize, if I say 24, it is 256 addresses. Okay. And this is 20.0.0 and it goes to what? 255. Okay. 10.0.0.255. यानी कि लास्ट का जो हमारा वो है octet, it goes from 0 to 255 because these are 8 bits and 8 bits when they all become 1 the value of the octet is in decimal is 255. सही है. अगर आप 24 को याद कर लो कि 24 के अंदर 256 हैं, then the next thing is if you go up then you should know, अगर ये आप याद कर लो एक, then it becomes very straightforward that as you go up the number of addresses are divided by 2. So 25, 128, 26, 64, 27, 32. And this is what I will concentrate on. ये हमारे एग्जाम के अंदर ये वाले आए थे. सही है. But of course you keep on going down and as you can see if you have /32 it's just one address. ये 2 की पावर बेसिकली कम होती जा रही है. सही है. 2 की पावर 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. सही है. This is what's happening. So हमारा दूसरा एड्रेस था 210.0.0.0/27. Yes, I'm recording. मैं रिकॉर्ड कर रहा हूँ इसको. 32 एड्रेसेस. So yeah. तो आपको ये पता होना चाहिए just by looking at it, right? First of all, just when you look at it, right, is to realize the ranges. When you're dealing with VNets, lot of people did all sort of things, right? You need to realize the first thing you have to do is understand the ranges. So when I say this one, it goes from 0 to 32. Right away you should know this one, 0 to 31 actually, right? Just by looking at it, right? 27, 2 raised to power 5, 32, और इसमें आपको it will go from here to here. This will go from here to here. That means it should tell you this one is completely part of this. So yeah, if I say this is VNet 1, right, and if I say this is VNet 2, so this is the first thing that we realize, ranges. So if you need to do networking or need to connect them together, you cannot, because हमने कहा था regardless of the type of connection, whether it's VPN, whether it's whatever it is, whether it's peering, whether it's VPN, the very first common requirement is the address space should not be overlapping. One address space should not be contained in the other one, whether part of it or whether complete, right? I'll come to that one in a second. So good. So I'll park this question for 1 second. I'm coming to that one. Now, so हमने ये देख लिया. Then we come to this part, right? हमने कहा non-overlapping. These are not overlapping. These are overlapping, right? This VNet 2 is fully contained in VNet 1. So yeah. Now we come to this notion of subnet. So first, we have to understand what is subnet. So what is a subnet? When I say subnet, what is a subnet? Subnet is nothing but a logical division of VNet's address space. It's just a logical division of virtual network's address space, right? If this is the case, that means I can slice this one and this one however I want. उसमें जो addresses and they will remain exactly same. So yeah, addresses will remain exactly same. It's just that, for example, let's say I will do this one. मैं अब यहाँ पे आ रहा हूँ इसके अंदर. We'll pick this one 24. I will save. So yeah. अब यहाँ पे I will do subnet. मैंने कहा जी इसकी मैं कह रहा हूँ let's say infra and I will make this /27. This is my subnet. And add a subnet. मैंने उसके अंदर एक और की और मैंने कहा db and I made it. हमारा पहला था from 0 to 31 /27. The second one I'll make it, for example, 32. And I will make it /27 again. Okay. Add. I can make one more. Let's say I'll call it web. I'll make it 64. I'll make it 27. 3 आ गए. मैंने इस एड्रेस स्पेस को I have logically separated into 3 different subnets, but the fundamental reality did not change, which is कि मेरी जो एड्रेस स्पेस है of VNet 1 and VNet 2 are still overlapping because subnetting has nothing to do with it. So, yeah, subnetting has nothing to do with overlapping or non-overlapping because the connection is made at a VNet level, not at a subnet level. There is no concept of making connection VPN or whatever or peering at a subnet level. So just to show you this point, if I go over here in my newly created VNet, if I go into peering, because whether I'm doing peering or VPN, it's exactly same from the connectivity perspective, from the requirements perspective, right? If I go into peering, अगर मैं इसको ऐड करता हूँ, यहाँ पे it's asking me my virtual network. See? So you can see there is no concept of subnet when you're making the connection because subnet is meaningless for all practical purposes, right? Because I mean my connection is being made at a VNet level, right? Nobody knows and nobody cares what is the logical division of that address space in your VNet. We never ever talk about subnets when you're talking about connections between VNets. जब दो networks को connect कर रहे हो, you do not care about what the subnetting is because it is just a logical division of the address space, nothing more. So yeah. Let's see if I pick something. So yeah, वो मैंने उसको उसी को पिक कर लिया. वो कह रहा करो you cannot peer it by itself, but regardless this उसने कहा जी address this overlaps with this one. So yeah, cannot be peered. Let me see. I'll pick something else that might have the same address, similar. So yeah, वो कह रहे this is overlapping. मैंने subnets बनाए हुए. It doesn't matter. It has no value because subnet doesn't change the address space. जो उसके अंदर IP addresses हैं वो तो same है ना. तो जो उसके अंदर होंगे, so that means you are not making connection at a subnet level. You cannot say कि मैं इसमें से ये pick करूँगा उसमें से वो pick करूँगा I'll make connection. No, connection is always made at a VNet level. There is no concept of connections being subnet because again subnets are just a logical division. See, that's one thing. Second thing is, so ये हमारी address space थी, ये हमारे subnets हैं. So then why are we doing subnetting? Subnetting is, for example, if I have a room, analogy is कि house with rooms. Okay. VNet with subnets, house with rooms. घर एक है, घर का एड्रेस एक है, अंदर कमरे बने हुए हैं. सेम थिंग VNet का एक एड्रेस है, एड्रेस स्पेसेस, सबनेट्स हैं उसके अंदर दैट आर शेयरिंग पार्ट्स ऑफ दैट एड्रेस स्पेस. बट इट्स VNet इज वन जस्ट लाइक हाउस इज वन. उसका एक है, उसकी एड्रेस स्पेस है, राइट. इट डिड नॉट चेंज द फैक्ट दैट एड्रेस स्पेस इज सेम. मैं जो मर्जी सबनेट्स बना लूँ बिकॉज सबनेट्स का मकसद सिर्फ ये है कि आई कैन कार्व आउट सेपरेट लॉजिकल divisions in this one And why do I do that? That is to control traffic between them. So yeah, between different components. अगर मैं यहाँ पे इंफ्रा के अंदर VMs बना रहा हूँ, मैं DB के अंदर VMs बना रहा हूँ, then what happens is I can put a control on this one. Who can send traffic? For example, अब DB के अंदर for example मेरे पास है मेरा जो यूजेबल एड्रेस है 10.0.0.32 लेट्स से 30 आई थिंक 37 माइट बी द फर्स्ट वन सही है मैं कहता हूँ ये मेरी सीक्वल वर्चुअल मशीन है उसका एड्रेस इज दिस वन एंड आई वांट टू बी एबल टू कंट्रोल हु कैन सेंड ट्रैफिक तो मेरा जो व्हाट आई वांट टू डू इज के रूल इज VMs from infra subnet can send traffic to SQL VM. Only VMs from infra subnet can send traffic to SQL VM. To apply this rule, so that's the foundation and that's the basic problem domain or the where we want to use subnetting, right? That is to logically separate and then control traffic. तो अब मैं इसको करूँगा to apply such rule we use network security groups NSGs. Okay, so let me show you what NSG does. So what I will do is I'll create a new NSG. हमने कहा जी NSG is for example NSG DB01. Okay, it's UAE North. And it has rules. We want to apply this that only how this will work. Okay, and I will show you this one now. And this is why we're creating subnets. ताकि logical separation हो virtual machines में और then we can control what traffic can come into a subnet from where and to where. See? So हमने this is the rule that we want to implement. See? I will duplicate this tab. So I have my VNet in front of me जो मैंने अभी बनाया. And I have the address spaces. So मैं कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि I want traffic from here. Any VM from here can come into over here but can connect to only this address. और SQL का port जो है that is 1433 for SQL Server. Port for MS SQL Server. Okay. तो मैं अब क्या करूँगा मैं NSE के अंदर I have some default rules. I can hide the rules and if you go into inbound security rules I can hide default rules. So as such there are no rules right now. Okay. And now you can see something interesting part. NSG, the control you can put on the network interface or on the subnet. And this is why we created subnet. कि हम subnet boundary के ऊपर we can associate this firewall or this network security group. Otherwise, अगर हमारा subnet ना हो, तो you have to apply this on every network card. So yeah, on every network card, which becomes a nightmare situation. तो हमने जो subnetting की है, again, I want to make sure everyone understands. It has nothing to do with networking. nothing to do with connectivity. You should never ever talk about subnets when you're talking about connectivity. Subnetting is all about logical division of address space so we can control the traffic between the resources between different subnets. Okay, that is the whole purpose of this thing. अब इसके अंदर मैं रूल डालूंगा. रूल में क्या कर रहा हूँ? Source is any, no, I want to have IP addresses. और क्या मेरे IP addresses थे? I said I want source needs to come from here only. This is my source. Port, since these are client, VMs are all client connecting to the server. That means client port, as you know, in TCP communication is meaningless. We can say because it's randomly assigned. So yeah, so we don't care about the source port. Who is initiating the TCP connection? We don't care about their port number. This is some of the basics of socket or TCP/IP programming. Okay, the client, we don't care about it. Now destination, IP addresses. Okay, here we set this one. Okay, इसके आगे मैं कुछ लिख सकता हूँ इसके आगे? If it's a single IP address, I can type 32. Why 32? What does it mean? अभी मैंने बताया था और उसके अंदर नजर भी आया था actually in the drop down list of. If I do /32, that's 2 to power 0, which means 1. If I do /32, it's a single IP address. Single IP address. So to explicitly state that I want connectivity on this rule for a single IP address, you can say /32. ये 2 की powers है ना? /27 2 to power 5 is 32 IP addresses. So I'm saying anybody from this subnet can connect to this specific IP. Okay. Then it has well-defined services already. You don't have to see MS SQL. 1433 port is TCP allow. Okay. You can do custom. I think there is a custom. Yeah, there is custom also over here. See, there is custom. You can specify port ranges, protocol, and all those things, right? But since we have something well defined, you can do where is SSH port 22 TCP. Yeah. तो कोशिश करनी हमने सबसे पहले कि हमें well defined service मिल जाए. If it's not there or we want some more customization, we can do custom always. Yeah. तो मैं यहाँ पे MS SQL करूँगा. Microsoft already maintains all these things for you. Priority means the lower the priority, the highest the precedence, right? ये मैं बताऊंगा अभी थोड़ा बाद में ये क्या, what does it mean? So let's do this one. I will allow this. That means if I do the same rule and do deny this traffic and it has port about priority 200, my 100 rule will take precedence. It will override a higher priority thing. तो प्रायोरिटी का जो लोअर नंबर होता है दैट टेक्स द हाईएस्ट प्रेसिडेंस. अंडरस्टैंड दिस पार्ट. तो मैंने क्या किया है? आई अप्लाइड दिस रूल. सही है, मैंने रूल अप्लाई किया और इसके अंदर एज यू कैन सी मैंने कहा है सोर्स यहाँ पे, डेस्टिनेशन ये TCP 1433. दिस इज फॉर द SQL सर्वर. अलाउ दिस ट्रैफिक. सो नाउ दिस इज डन. बट what now? I need to apply this MSG on this subnet. So what I do is I can go into subnet and I can say associate. That's it. So yeah, and that is the beauty of NSGs and the reason why we do subnetting, that we can control which traffic can come in, to where, what port, what protocol, whatever, right? This is why we have subnetting. So we never ever talk about subnetting in the context of connectivity. Okay? This is the point I wanted to highlight, since many people made mistake on this one, right? And they talked about subnets when we're discussing this one. Okay? We only make connection at a VNet level. We never talk about subnets when we're talking about network connectivity. Okay? Subnetting is specifically to take care of these kind of scenarios. We want to logically divide so we can control traffic, who can go from where and whatnot. So, yeah. Second important point is, अगर हम इस VNet को देखें, these are all private addresses, private IP addresses. अगर मैं अपने इस लैपटॉप को देखूं, just one second, एक सेकंड देना पड़ेगा. मैं अगर कहूँ IP, फॉर एग्जांपल मैं यहाँ पे कहता हूँ IP config, right, to get my IP addresses and everything. As you can see, I have no public IP address on this machine. ये मेरा लैपटॉप जो है ये कनेक्ट हुआ है मेरे राउटर के साथ, मेरे DSL राउटर या फाइबर जो कनेक्ट कंपनी ने मुझे दिया हुआ है फाइबर ऑप्टिक राउटर, but I do not have any IP address, public IP address. Lot of people made this mistake also. Public IP address from the VNet and all. There is no concept of public IP address. No concept of in a VNet. Okay, I want everyone to be very clear on this point. There is no concept of an IP address, public IP address in a VNet. So, how do I make the outside connection? For outside connectivity, I don't need a public IP address. Why do I need a public IP address? So if I say to go outside, that means from the to the internet, what do I need? I just I say public IP not needed. Okay. Public IP is only needed when someone needs to connect to a resource inside a network. Okay. So when I am on a network, when I am on a VNet, जिस तरह मेरा भी लैपटॉप है, and you guys have also all your laptops and everything, how it is able to go out, right? It is not because कि मुझे public IP address, I need a public IP address. No, it has nothing to do with it, right? So I do not have public IP address. I have only private. But what is happening is, on my network, there is an appliance which does have a public IP address. So yeah, if I do this and I say, what is my, let's say, I'll say what is my IP? So yeah, this is my public IP address, but my machine doesn't have, right? This one doesn't have. तो कहाँ से आ रहा public IP address? I am going out through my router, राउटर के पास पब्लिक आईपी है, and through that I'm making the connection. So if I have, for example, let me see if I can open Visio. तो क्या हो रहा है, मेरा लेट्स से नेटवर्क रिंग बना हुआ है, उसमें मुख्तलिफ डिवाइसेस हैं. एनीबडी नीड्स टू गो आउट, इट टॉक्स टू द अप्लायंस which has the public IP address. Can you route my traffic outside? And if it can, it does. And this is how we go out on the internet from our internal network. We do not get a public IP. हमारी एक अप्लायंस होगी नेटवर्क के ऊपर जिसके पास पब्लिक आईपी है. How? That's a separate thing, right? And if it has the capability to route our traffic to the internet, it can, it will. Just like our routers and our DSL routers and our fiber optic routers do. Precisely like that, when we are doing VPN connectivity, we need an appliance that has a public IP that can go outside on the internet, or that is available on the internet. So yeah, VNet does not provide any IPs, public IPs. उसके लिए आपको something outside your VNet is needed to get the public IP. So if we make the connection, so first of all, let's go back for a second. When we are doing VNet peering, there is no concept of public IP. There is no concept of subnetting, as we mentioned. There is no concept of public IP because it's just a VNet and the two VNets are sitting inside Azure. Both VNets are sitting inside Azure. There is no concept of public IP and we can simply connect, right? Because public IP will only be available on an appliance that has been assigned a public IP by somebody else. And we'll discuss that in a minute, right? But first, we want to be very, very clear that on the VNet, there is no concept of public IPs. None whatsoever. Okay. Now, अब जब मैंने peering करनी है, so for peering, so ये हम subnet के अंदर आ गए थे, सही है? Let's go back to the original topic, which was before you go into subnet, peering. A peering is, as we discussed, is done between two VNets in Azure. Both VNets must be in Azure. क्यों? क्योंकि peering की जो functionality है, that is a Azure specific thing, right? Here is the option to do peering. This is how you make the peering connection, right? And you just pick the other network. Let's see if I can pick something that is okay. मैं कहता हूँ इसको I will just say peer source to DST और ये मैं कह रहा हूँ peer DST to SRC. Okay. यहाँ मैंने नाम बता दिया and as you can see it checked कि दोनों के अंदर वो नहीं है क्या कहते हैं overlapping नहीं है and it's allowing us to do that. Other settings मैं उसमें जाना नहीं चाह रहा, सही है? Now I can pair with these things, right? I can do pairing. और ये दोनों साइड का कनेक्शन उसने बनाया from source to destination and destination to source. It made the connection. So yeah. Again, nothing to do with subnetting, nothing to do with public IPs. As long as no overlapping address space on the VNets, I can peer. Now, can I do if it's two different regions? A lot of people made this mistake as well. ये मेरा कहाँ पे UAE North के अंदर है? Let's take a look. If I go into overview, this is in UAE North. So, yeah. मैं कहता हूँ कि I'll go back into the virtual networks, and what I will do is ये मैं कह रहा हूँ वेस्ट यूरोप के अंदर मैं इसको बनाऊँ, सही है। यानी कि मैं कह रहा हूँ मेरे कुछ रिसोर्सेज आर सिटिंग इन मिडल ईस्ट, some are sitting in Europe and some are sitting in USA. यहाँ पे मैं आऊँगा IP addresses के अंदर, and let's see if I can I want to now modify the address space. I will delete this one. I will add an IP address space, and I will say 172 dot, for example, 170.10.0.0/24. वो कह रहे हैं यहाँ पे अब स्पेस ना लिखो, 24 ना लिखो, आप इसको यहाँ करो। मैं कहता हूँ 24। वो कह रही है अब इसको इस्तेमाल ना करो, लेट्स डू समथिंग एल्स। 10.10 डॉट हमारी वो क्या थी उसकी, we'll do 192.168, 192.168.0.0, और मैंने कहा /24. We can do actually 1.0, okay, /24 add, और इसके अंदर मैंने add subnet किया। To keep things simple now, I will just do this. मैं एक subnet बना रहा हूँ और उसके अंदर मैंने I have contained the whole address space एक के अंदर, सही है, which is perfectly fine, right? Not something we usually do, क्योंकि अब मैं इसके अंदर this is what we call flat address space. That means there is no division, one subnet contains the whole address space. अब मैं यहाँ पे मेरे लिए NSG लगाना will be very difficult, क्योंकि now I have to apply the rules on each and every VM directly, सही है। But anyway, I don't want to go too much deep into NSGs right now. The idea is, this was another huge area of confusion. A lot of people mentioned if both VNets are in the same region. Let's see what happens. I go back into this one. ये मेरा जो network था, ये this one. Okay? I want to do pairing. I will do one more pair. और मैं कहूँगा UAE to Europe, West Europe, and I will say West Europe to UAE. And as you can see, I can pick my West Europe network. Okay, I am pairing now. Region has nothing to do with it. Actually, having a different region is one of the most powerful things. अब मेरे दो नेटवर्क हैं, एक मेरा मिडल ईस्ट में नेटवर्क है, वीनेट है जिसके ऊपर मेरे मिडल ईस्ट के रिसोर्सेज हैं, एक मेरा वीनेट है अब यूरोप के अंदर, and now I am connecting my both data centers seamlessly without any restriction over Microsoft backbone. This is the beauty and power of VNet peering. कि मैंने एक वर्चुअल नेटवर्क मेरा और मेरा सारा डेटा सेंटर इज सिटिंग इन UAE, दूसरा मेरा सारा पड़ा हुआ है उसके अंदर यूरोप के अंदर, and the third one is maybe USA, and I can connect all of them with each other over Microsoft backbone or Microsoft network, internal private network, without any problem. So again, having a different region is one of the best things in VNet peering. Huge amount of students wrote this, okay, they must be in the same region. No, think about it logically, why they need to be in the same region. सही है? जो चीजें हैं एक रीजन में, दे मस्ट बी, यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड. जिस तरह हमने उसके अंदर कहा था, किसके अंदर कहा था हमने, ऐप सर्विसेज के अंदर, कि इफ यू आर गोइंग टू यूज द ऐप सर्विस प्लान इज लाइक अ वर्चुअल मशीन. ऐप सर्विस इज लाइक अ वेब ऐप. अगर आपने मल्टीपल वेब एप्स डालनी है उसके ऊपर, एक ऐप सर्विस प्लान के ऊपर, दे नीड टू बी इन द सेम डेटा सेंटर, क्योंकि वो कंप्यूट है. इफ कंप्यूट इज सिटिंग इन UAE, both web apps needs to be in the same region, in the same data center. But here there is no such. So always think intuitively what we are trying to do. See, it's absolutely critical to have some kind of intuition what we are trying to do, and not put these kind of things right without understanding. अब इसी तरह आई कैन मेक वन मोर VNet. ये मेरी एड्रेस स्पेस थी इसकी, दिस वन. आई कैन टेक अ लुक अगेन ऑन माई एड्रेस स्पेस इफ आई गोइंग टू VNets, और यहाँ पे ये वाले दो थे. सही है. ये 10 था, मैं 2024 कर देता हूँ अब नए वाले को. सही है. आई कैन क्रिएट. तो एज यू कैन सी, मैं एक ही रिसोर्स ग्रुप के अंदर मैं सारे रीजन्स कर सकता हूँ. आई डू नॉट हैव एनी प्रॉब्लम. सही है. तो वेस्ट यूरोप था, अब मैं कर रहा हूँ लेट्स से ईस्ट, सेंट्रल US. I'll just put USA right now, wherever it is. I'll go into the IP addresses. I will delete this one, add an IP address space, और हमने कहा था हम इसको, सॉरी, I'll make it 24. I'll add a subnet. Again, I will contain एक ही subnet के अंदर everything. No need right now because we are trying to prove the peering part and the connectivity part. सही है. तो हमने अभी तक क्या कनेक्टिविटी की थी? वी हैव कनेक्टिविटी फ्रॉम मिडल ईस्ट टू यूरोप. सही है. नाउ वी वांट टू हैव कनेक्टिविटी फ्रॉम यूरोप टू USA and from Middle East to USA. We'll have the whole mesh of connectivities right between all networks directly. So again I will go back to my Middle East one, right, is this one. मैं इसमें जाऊंगा पेयरिंग के अंदर. मैंने इसके अंदर किया, आई विल रिमूव दिस वन, ये मैंने वैसे ही उसके लिए किया था. आई विल डिलीट दिस वन, आई डोंट नीड दिस पेयरिंग. हमने कहा UAE टू वेस्ट यूरोप. नाउ आई वांट टू डू UAE टू USA. सही है. अब विजुअलाइज दिस दैट आई हैव, फॉर एग्जांपल आई विल ओपन विजियो टू ड्रॉ दिस. यानी कि यहाँ पे मेरी अभी तक ड्राइंग जो थी, आई हैव UAE, and I have, for example, Europe, I have Middle East, and I have USA. तो मैंने पेयरिंग से मैंने इनकी कनेक्टिविटी कर ली थी. I've done this one already. I don't know क्या हुआ है. मेरी ये कनेक्टिविटी हो गई हुई है. Now I want to make this one and I want to make this one. सही है. तो इसके दो कनेक्शंस होंगे, इसके दो कनेक्शंस होंगे, और ऑब्वियसली इसके ऑटोमेटिकली साथ दो कनेक्शन बन जाएंगे. सही है. दिस इज व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू. सो आई वांट टू मेक फ्रॉम मिडल ईस्ट टू यूएसए नाउ. दिस इज द, so I want you guys to be very clear. Region is actually having a different region is one of the most powerful things in peering. So I can create this whole mesh network across the globe. So yeah. तो मैं इस दूसरे के ऊपर आया हूँ, and what I will do is I will add another pairing. I will say Mia to USA, USA to I will say, so I will just do not Mia, UAE, UAE. I'll come down. Subscription मेरी same है, and I will say USA. नाम सही रखे मैंने, USA to UAE ऐसे. और वो मेरे नेटवर्क्स हैं सारे के सारे. I have given each one its own address space that doesn't overlap, and then I can make the connection. So going back to my diagram, this is what I did, and it's bi-directional, right? Just to be on the, I will make the line, and just to be very clear, it's by मैं दोनों connection बनाए हैं. सही है. Same thing over here as well. और अब मैं ये करना चाह रहा हूँ. सही है. I want to make this one. Everything is bi-directional, right? हम दोनों तरफ connection बना रहे हैं. Don't get confused with the arrows. मेरा वहाँ से कनेक्शन हो गया, यूएसए का कनेक्शन हो गया मिडल ईस्ट से, मिडल ईस्ट का कनेक्शन हो गया यूएई का यूएसए से. नाउ कौन सी मेरी रहती है अब? यूरोप और अमेरिका का. आई विल गो बैक टू माय यूरोप वन. सही है. और मैं अमेरिका से भी बना सकता हूँ. डजंट रियली, इट्स सेम थिंग, राइट? आई एम गोइंग टू पेयरिंग, और ये बता रहे कि आपका कनेक्शन है यूरोप और यूएई का हुआ हुआ है. आई विल ऐड वन मोर पेयरिंग. मैं कह रहा हूँ इट्स वेस्ट यूरोप टू USA and USA to West Europe. And again I go back and I pick my USA network. Non-overlapping addresses, no problem, perfectly fine. I can make the connection, right? So region doesn't matter. Region is actually the best thing that you can have, right? So now you're able to create across the globe your whole mesh network, right? That anybody can talk to anyone. We just did this one using peering, right? This is the beauty of this one. So again, to emphasize those points, right? there is region has no bearing on connectivity in peering. They can be and in different regions, and actually that's a very very big benefit. As long as you have access to the other VNet, you can peer it, and only requirement is non-overlapping IP addresses. Okay? When you're doing peering, again, many mistakes were made. I want you guys to think very intuitively on these things, right? What are you saying? What are you writing? Why it needs to be in the same region, right? Why? That was written in the paper. I'm just telling you, if somebody is writing, think about it. What are you writing, right? And try to first of all convince yourself logically what I'm writing, does it make sense or not? So yeah. So this was about peering. I want to clarify all these points. Nothing to do with subnets, nothing to do with public IP, nothing to do with regions. Okay? Now, anything else? अब यहाँ पे lot of people mentioned, if you need encryption, you should use VPN. No, I mean, we do not make the decision based on these things, right? We make the decision, first of all, we put the solutions in front of us. जब आपकी ट्रैफिक ही अपने ही नेटवर्क के ऊपर जा रही है, I don't need to worry about encryption, generally speaking, right? That is not my decision point. Imagine the amount of effort and the cost that needs to go what I just did if I was making VPN. तो ये सारी ट्रैफिक माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के नेटवर्क के ऊपर जा रही है, नॉट इवन पब्लिक इंटरनेट, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के प्राइवेट नेटवर्क के ऊपर जा रही है सारी ट्रैफिक बिटवीन ऑल द 3 data centers, right? So you can see how much powerful this thing is. It's already secure from that perspective. Nobody can come in and see the traffic, so I'm perfectly fine. Yeah. So if both VNets are in Azure, whether they belong to one subscription or multiple subscription, as long as you have access to them and they have non-overlapping addresses, you can peer them. Region doesn't matter, subnet doesn't matter, no concept of public IP addresses, okay? I want us to be very, very clear on this one. And the reason of subnets is that we want to be able to logically divide the address space, so we can put controls on the subnet, which traffic can come in and which cannot. And subnets are a way to segregate the address space, to segregate the resources, so we can put NSGs or firewalls or whatever, any kind of appliance to control the incoming traffic or the outgoing traffic, right? There is a purpose and the I guess the problem area that subnets resolve. Nothing to do with connectivity, okay? Nothing. Because connection is done at a VNet level, as we saw. अभी भी हमने जो peering किया है, it never asks us for a subnet. It says give me the VNet. और VNet की address space देख के उसने उसी वक्त बता दिया था it is overlapping. You cannot use it. You cannot peer them. सही है? Now anything else is a VPN. सही है? That means if one VNet is sitting, I have one VNet and the other VNet is in AWS, GCP, on premises, anywhere else, it must be VPN. Even if the other VNet is sitting in a subscription where I do not have access, it is a VPN connection. Okay. Now, what is needed in a VPN connection? A VPN connection, since the other network is outside our access, we cannot see it. That means we must be able to send the traffic outside on the internet, or हमें it's an internet based connection now. Since other party we do not know where it is outside of our domain and out from our environment, right? So जिस तरह मैंने भी बताया था, आपका अगर घर का भी नेटवर्क हो, people are connecting through Wi-Fi, all the Wi-Fi devices or all the devices connected with the cable through your modem, internet modem, they create an internal network just like this virtual network. सही है? अगर आप देखो मेरा ये वाला ये चीज़ ये बता रहा है डिफ़ॉल्ट गेटवे, और यहाँ पे मुझे आईपी एड्रेस मिला हुआ है 30. सही है? दैट शुड टेल यू कि ये मेरी एक्चुअली दो कनेक्शन है. सही है? मैंने केबल भी लगाई हुई है, केबल में मुझे 2 एड्रेस मिला हुआ है और वाईफाई के ऊपर मुझे 30 मिला हुआ है. दैट शुड टेल यू समथिंग ऑल्सो कि उसकी जो एड्रेस रेंज है केबल की दैट इज़ डिफरेंट, और उसकी जो वाईफाई की है इट्स स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम समवेयर एल्स, मे बी, आई एम नॉट श्योर. बट एनीवे, जो केबल से अब मैं आई एम कनेक्टेड थ्रू केबल एंड फ्रॉम वाईफाई. So if you look at it over here, वाईफाई भी मेरा कनेक्ट हुआ हुआ है और मेरा नेटवर्क भी कनेक्ट हुआ है. यू कैन सी ये जो आइकॉन आया हुआ है यहाँ पे, एंड दैट्स व्हाई आई हैव 2 आईपी एड्रेसेस. सही है? एंड यू कैन सी मेरा ये दिस इज इन अ डिफरेंट, एक्चुअली दिस इज डिफरेंट, राइट? ये देखो यहाँ पे मेरा एड्रेस रेंज इज 6811, दिस इज 68101. सही है? So it's a different address space where the addresses are coming from the Ethernet and for the Wi-Fi. So उस router के अंदर it is separated. Somebody comes from cable, it comes from, you are given this from this क्या कहते हैं this address space. Somebody comes from Wi-Fi, connects to a different VNet inside the router. You are given address space from over here. So yeah. And they both cannot see each other, generally speaking, right? Now, यहाँ पे तो anyway, तो अब यहाँ पे, so we are going towards VPN now. अब मुझे चाहिए कि मेरे जो नेटवर्क बना हुआ है internal, I want to be able to go out from over here and connect this VNet to somebody else. For that, I need help of some appliance that has a public IP address. So, मैंने VPN करना है on a network which has all private addresses and all devices with private IP addresses. I need an appliance actually I'll make it simple, okay? A VPN के लिए I need a VPN gateway and that is going to have a public IP address. So yeah, again let's say I have ये सवाल था हमारा टेस्ट के अंदर. सही है? A VNet is this one and VNet 2. So let me change this one a little bit, okay? मैं उसे कहता हूँ I'll change this one 1. Now these are non-overlapping IP addresses, okay? Non-overlapping now. This is going from 0 to 31. This is going from 0.0 to 0.31. This is going from 1.0 to 1.255. All IP addresses are totally separate. So yeah. Having said that, now I need a VPN. I need to do VPN on these two things, right? How I will do? First is I will create a VPN gateway. So, or VPN gateway, VPN appliance, right? Whatever. Microsoft की जो terminology है, the resource that gives you VPN connectivity is called Azure VPN gateway. But regardless of that, it is simply a virtual machine underneath with a public IP address that is running the routing and the VPN software. Okay. अब इसके अंदर जो एक्चुअली जब फंक्शनैलिटी थी माइक्रोसॉफ्ट की, विंडोज सर्वर दिस, ये फंक्शनैलिटी जो ओरिजिनली आई थी ना माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के वीपीएन गेटवे के अंदर, इट केम फ्रॉम राउटिंग एंड रिमोट एक्सेस. दिस वाज वीपीएन राउटर बेसिकली बिल्ट इनटू विंडोज. सही है. ये अब इनका मेरा ख्याल है रिमोट एक्सेस रोल आ गया नया. आई हैवंट सीन इट इन अ वाइल. लेट्स सी व्हाट इट इज फॉर अ सेकंड. सही है. ये देखो, ये वीपीएन, इट प्रोवाइड्स यू वीपीएन. सो आपके पास विंडोज सर्वर है ना, you can do this remote access role and it provides you VPN, routing and remote access, and the full-fledged is a router with a VPN. You can use Windows, and this is what's probably being used for this thing, this service as well. You service बना रहे हैं ना VPN gateway, underneath is probably a Windows server that is doing this, that is the remote access role configured, that is provided to you as a VPN gateway. ये मैं अंडरनीथ आपको, आई एम स्पेक्युलेटिंग दिस इज व्हाट दे आर डूइंग. तो हमने कहा अगर वीपीएन हमें चाहिए तो क्या करते हैं, दे प्रोवाइड यू वर्चुअल अप्लायंस, वीएम, वॉट एवर, राइट, विद पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस दैट इज रनिंग वीपीएन सॉफ्टवेयर. और इसका काम क्या होता है, ये कहते हैं जी आई विल, बाहर से ट्रैफिक आएगी, आई विल सी हु इट इज destined for, and I will give this, hand it off to that resource on your private IP. So again, I will go into the Visio. I'll make one more diagram over here. अब यहाँ पे, let's see if I can find something, network. Anyway, network string, let me see. Sorry. ये मैं सिर्फ for description, ये हमारा नेटवर्क है. लेट्स से दीज आर ऑल 4-5 डिफरेंट डिवाइसेस ऑन द नेटवर्क. सही है. मैंने अगर आप इनको कनेक्ट करना है इसके ऊपर, व्हाट विल हैपन इज कि वन ऑफ दीज गाइज सही है. दिस इज व्हाट विल हैपन. पब्लिक आईपी कहां से आया, एज्योर ने पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस दिया अपनी रेंज में से. एज्योर के पास, डेटा सेंटर के पास वो दिया, क्या कहते हैं, हैज अ रेंज ऑफ पब्लिक आईपीज. जिस तरह आपके डीएसएल मॉडेम को पब्लिक आईपी मिलता है ना फ्रॉम द प्रोवाइडर, एग्जैक्टली लाइक दैट आपके जो आईएसपी है जो आपको मॉडेम दिया ना, वो आपके मॉडेम को एक पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस भी देता है. सिमिलरली माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ने जो आपकी अप्लायंसेज है, इट कैन गिव इट अ पब्लिक आईपी फ्रॉम इट्स रेंज. एज्योर के डेटा सेंटर में मैसिव रेंज ऑफ आईपी एड्रेसेस है. ठीक है. सो ओवर देयर इट कैन असाइन अ पब्लिक आईपी टू योर वर्चुअल मशीन्स, टू योर अप्लायंसेज फॉर एग्जैक्टली दिस काइंड ऑफ कनेक्टिविटी. मेन पॉइंट इज in the VNet there is no public IP ever. ये जो VMB है इसका भी प्राइवेट IP है since it's sitting on this network, but Azure ने इसको पब्लिक IP भी दे दिया है so other people can reach. क्योंकि हमने कहा था कि पब्लिक IP is needed when someone needs to connect to a resource inside a network. So this is inside the network, but somebody else from the internet needs to connect to this guy, it has a public IP. और इसका काम क्या है? इसका काम ये है कि it knows the network that is sitting on, and all it does is when the traffic comes in from outside, it brings it inside and gives it to whoever it needs to go to. So yeah, this is the whole functionality of this guy, VPN gateway. So it connects. So again, when I say कि हमें connection करना है इसका, you cannot say we need a VPN with public IP, VNet with public IP. No, VNet has no concept of public IP. You must have a resource that can take a public IP, like generally speaking a virtual machine. उसके ऊपर Azure से आप कह सकते हो मुझे public IP दे. So yeah, but you cannot say I have a VNet with a public IP. There is no concept as we saw. कोई चीज ही नहीं है ये. So yeah, आप appliances ले सकते हो, आप resources ले सकते हो that can take a public IP, and from there you need to make a connection. Okay. तो having said that, तो हमारी जो VPN की requirement थी, beside the first one, which is the non-overlapping IP addresses on the other one, we need a VPN gateway with public IP. सही है? आप कोई भी VPN appliance ले लो, whether it's a Microsoft VPN gateway or whether it's anything else, underneath it's a virtual machine with a routing software. जिस तरह अगर आप सिस्को का लो कोई भी राउटर या VPN appliance या any other vendor, वो क्या करते हैं, वो आपको अगर ऑन प्रेमिसेस है वो आपको एक डिवाइस ला के देते हैं in which the routing software is running. That device is their own custom hardware with running a standard x86 chip and running their special soft routing software. And that's precisely what they're doing over here also in Azure and other cloud services, is they use a virtual machine that is running Linux usually, and it's running their software. Exactly what they do on premises. On premises पे वो अपनी एक appliance आपको ला के देते हैं in which everything is already configured, and they charge you a lot of money for that, right? To run that that appliance, that hardware, right? So in cloud, since there is no actual physical appliance, you get much cheaper license, right? Much cheaper cost. Usually speaking, sometimes usually it's about 1/4. Again, to sum it up, when you're doing VPN on the virtual network, you need an appliance, a VPN gateway with public IP. And similarly, and then what happens is we connect these two guys, right? This is what happens, right? और इसका काम क्या है? जो ट्रैफिक आ रही है इसके ऊपर से, to take it and give it to internally wherever it's routed for, and same thing over here. It just happens to be they're connecting over public internet, right? They both have public IPs, they both can see each other, and we create the tunnel. Again, to emphasize, VNets do not have public IP addresses. There is no concept. You must have an appliance with a public IP sitting on the VNet that can bring the outside traffic inside and take the inside traffic outside to the other VPN gateway. Okay. Any questions so far? अब इसके अंदर one last thing I want to go over. If I look at the virtual machines, अब ये वर्चुअल मशीन है, इट हैज़ अ पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस, पब्लिक आईपी एड्रेस भी है, इसका डीएनएस नेम भी है, सही है। The DNS name, if I want to give, so यहाँ पे if I go into the public IP address, you can see यहाँ पे इसका public IP address दिया हुआ है इसका, सही है, for the virtual machine. So if you look at the VPN gateway is nothing more than a virtual machine with a public IP address and doing the routing software and the VPN software running inside it, just like I showed you in the Windows, right? Like this one. अब इसके अंदर when I have this thing, let me make it bigger. अब ये कह रहा है यहाँ पे you can use IP address as your A DNS record or DNS label as your DNS name record, C name record. हम क्या करेंगे यहाँ पे, A record करेंगे कि हम C name करेंगे यहाँ पे? What we will do? Anybody can say, tell me, हम क्या करेंगे यहाँ पे? हम A record करेंगे इसके ऊपर, if I need to reach this VM, क्या हम इसके ऊपर C name करेंगे? Anyone? What we can do is, we can do A record for this one and C name for this one. If it's not clear, let me know, I'll explain further. But since we are, this thing is part of Microsoft domain as well, I can do CNAME because this is already this one. ये optional है, I can remove it from over here. मैं इसको remove कर दूंगा, I don't need to do CNAME. I can only do a record on the public IP. सही है? और वो बता रहा है आपको in your DNS you can create an alias record, right? Anyway, so this is how the public IP addresses are, and we should be very, very clear that public IP addresses are why they are needed, where they come from, and what they are assigned to, and understanding there is no relationship, there is no public IP address on a VNet. Public IP address is given by the ISP, in our case Microsoft Azure Data Center, to your resources like the virtual machines, like the VPN gateway, and so on and so forth. Okay, तो ये मैं points clear करना चाह रहा था. There was lot of confusion, lot of mistakes, and lot of stuff written, right? So this is the idea basically on these ones, right? Any questions? कोई question है किसी का? नहीं, फ्राइडे की क्लास ऑनलाइन क्यों है? नहीं, क्विज तो नहीं ऑनलाइन हो सकती. ये आई थी, वो क्या कहते हैं, आई डिड नॉट पे अटेंशन. अगर ऑनलाइन होगी देन आई डोंट वांट टू मूव द क्विज फॉरवर्ड. और अच्छा, सही है. सो व्हाट विल डू इज देन क्विज वी विल मूव टू नेक्स्ट वीक. सही है, तो हम अपनी फुल क्लास लेंगे. मैं आई विल मेक अ नोट, मैं क्लासरूम के ऊपर पोस्ट कर देता हूँ कि क्लास विल, आई मीन क्विज विल बी मूव टू नेक्स्ट दिस थिंग मंडे ट्यूसडे. सही है, और हम यहाँ करेंगे कि इसके अंदर विल डू कंटिन्यू द क्लास विद डॉकर्स एंड कंटेनर्स. सही है, विल डू दैट. तो मैंने पे अटेंशन नहीं की. तो नहीं, मेरा दिल तो है कि मैं क्विज एक्स्ट्रा लूँ ताकि यू गेट एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू इम्प्रूव योर क्विज ग्रेड्स. तो मैं एक नई क्विज तो लेना चाह रहा हूँ हमारे पास. लेट मी स्टॉप दिस रिकॉर्डिंग. सही, होल्ड ऑन.